Welcome to Search Talk Live with search engine optimization and marketing experts Robert O'Haver and Caleb McKelvin, powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
Welcome back to another episode of Search Talk Live. We're here for one big hour. It's me. My name is Robert O'Haver, and with me is Caleb McKelvin.
Hey, man.
How's it going, man?
Doing great. I'm ready for this special Super Bowl edition of Search Talk Live. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. It is Super Bowl week, though. Who you got, Rob? Patriots, Falcons.
I'm going Patriots.
You going Patriots? I hope they don't win. As a Steelers fan, I hope they don't win.
I'm a Steelers fan, too.
I know you are, but I just hope they don't win. Let's go Falcons. But we're not here to talk sports.
You going for the underdog? Is that what it is?
Going for the underdog. Pulling for the underdog. But yeah, no, we're here to talk digital marketing.
Yeah, those of you that are tuning in to Search Talk Live for the first time ever, we are a digital marketing podcast, and what we do here is we talk about everything to do with online marketing, whether it be search engine optimization,
social media, content marketing.
We cover it all.
Cover it all.
Yeah.
We've literally had a show on everything twice over, and so a lot of great content out there on searchtalklive.com, on Spreaker, on iTunes. Check us out everywhere. We're all over the place. And today we do have another special guest who will be joining us. Actually, not this second. He will be joining us in about 10, 15 minutes, so we're excited about that. We do have the one and only
Rand Fishkin.
Yes. For the third time on Search Talk Live. We're super excited about it. We can't wait. But until then, it's just Rob and I.
Yeah, so for the next 10 minutes, we are going to fill this time. But I want to
bear with us.
A couple things I want to talk about. I was talking with Gary Elias at Google over the over the weekend or something. Yeah, we were talking about, I like to sometimes buy domains from auction or sites from auction, doing blogs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I asked him about what if I came across, because I like to do a lot of research, because you have to be really careful when you buy these kind of things.
Very careful.
From like an auction, because a lot of times, well, no, I wouldn't say a lot of times. There's a few times where what they'll do is they'll pump a ton of leads to that domain to bring up the domain authority. And literally, like I ran across one that had 1.6 million links put to it in a 3-month period.
That's one hell of a link building campaign.
The domain authority was 69.
Right. But they manipulated the crap out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, geez.
So I almost guarantee that it had a penguin penalty to it. And so my question to Gary was, if you end up buying a website or a domain that has a penalty on it, what
are the steps?
Yeah, what are the steps?
What can you do?
So I was glad to hear from Gary was that if you buy a domain or a website that has a penalty on it, that you just have to submit, a reconsideration request to Google to say, hey, I just purchased this domain, and they can obviously check the domain registry to see if that's the case.
Yeah.
And they will most likely remove the penalty because it wasn't something that you did or was your fault. Which I was really happy to hear that, because, man, can you imagine?
Well, I mean, that's very, when you showed me the conversation, and I was kind of blown away that that's actually the fact that, you resubmit it and they're able to identify that, hey, this wasn't you. You didn't manipulate the site. You didn't build 1.6 million links in a 3-month span, which is nearly impossible, of course. But, and also a huge red flag. Yeah. But the fact that you just resubmit it and they do that it takes a lot of the work out, for one.
Yeah.
And you're able to kind of, once they get that established, move forward. That's huge.
Yeah. And in that case is only if you have a manual penalty on your site. Now, if it's algorithmically a penalty.
Ooh, I like that word. Algorithmically.
I can't even repeat it.
Right.
But if it's that, then it's automatically. I don't know if that would be an automatic.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But still very interesting.
Yeah. And then the other question I posed to him, I said, okay, well, you obviously want to keep the domain authority. Do you take the links that are linking to the site and redirect them? He said, no. Most of the time those links aren't worth it.
Right.
But you'd have to do some research to find, what links are good if you really want to keep that domain authority.
Right. Well, that's a good question, Rob, and it's something that you have experience doing, and people might be interested in. Okay, well, I didn't know I could go that route as far as buying a domain off auction. What does that process look like for you? How can you make sure that you're getting a website that's not going to get you into a lot of trouble algorithmically? There's our word, but like you're doing it safe.
Well, there's a lot of things you can do. Obviously, you're going to use tools like MOZ or Majestic. Majestic is a good one because it has a lot bigger database of information.
Right.
You can see the link history on it. So the one thing you want to look for, obviously, if there's a ton of links that were thrown at this thing in like a 3-month span or 2-month span, there was a someone had the wherewithal to know that, hey, I'm going to sell this domain, so I'm going to get a lot of money for it. So what they do is they pump up that domain authority so that, it's got a DA, like the one I showed you was a 69. So they'll do that. So when people are bidding on that auction, they get into a bidding war and they end up paying like $30,000 for a website that's totally worthless.
Right.
Now, and the other thing is obviously you go to archive.org to look at what was there before the website. Does it look spammy? Does it, is it quality content if it's a blog you're looking for? All those kind of things. And the funny thing is, with this particular website I was looking at, the blog was beautiful.
Yeah.
The content was great. It looked like someone had a good start there and had probably, a couple hundred pages of blog posts, which was surprising to me. But I guess they just wanted to get out of it.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, I got a great looking site. All I have to do is pump up the DA and I'll get, I'll get a lot of money for the site.
Right.
So, I mean, it's nuts. People do anything nowadays.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, just remember we'll soon be joined by our special guest, Rand Fishkin of MOZ, the Wizard of MOZ himself. If you'd like to get your questions in for the show, which we already have some ready to go from our listeners, we appreciate you getting those in. You can go to Twitter, use hashtag #SearchTalkLive. I'm monitoring that right now. So get your questions in. If you'd like to go a different route, an email, don't see why you would, but you can use Caleb at Search Talk Live, Robert at Search Talk Live. We will get your questions in on the show for Rand once he joins us. And make sure you check it out and get those questions in.
Yeah, Caleb, we got a couple questions already. It looks like somebody wants your autograph.
Well, that's not the first time. I'll get it to look. If you want my autograph, just tweet at me, email me, hit me up. I'll send you an autograph in the mail. It'll be worth something someday. Trust me.
Ouch. Now, here's the question. What has been the most effective CTA on your blog post? Is it asking for emails or asking, I always save these questions actually for Rand.
We will save these for Rand. These are good ones. We got a bunch of good ones on here ready to go as we get the show rolling. But yeah, if you want to get your questions in, we can go ahead. And I think Rand is joined us. Rand, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Great.
We appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be on the show. How's everything going today?
Good. How are you folks?
Excellent.
Doing great. Enjoying this cool weather in Orlando, which is kind of odd, but very nice.
Yeah. So let's get started with Rand. Now, those are the people, which I don't know very many people that don't know who Rand is, but just for those people that do not know who you are, I want you to tell a little bit about yourself, your background, and where you're at now.
Oh, sure. So let's see. I'm a royal pain in the ass, especially if you're Google and you want to keep things secret. That doesn't go over so well with me. No. Yes. So let's see. I'm the founder of MOZ. I was CEO there for 7 years, and for the last 3, I've been an individual contributor under the weird, wacky title of Wizard of MOZ.
Yes.
And I do some other things. My wife and I do a very, very tiny bit of investing, like with Seattle Techstars, and hopefully soon with a new fund out of Los Angeles. We're I'm based in Seattle, Washington. I do lots of speaking and blogging and tweeting and writing about search engines and SEO, as well as other digital marketing channels like social media and content marketing and email and conversion rate optimization. And I do all sorts of other random weird stuff. But yeah, that should be good enough to start.
Yeah, well, that's good. Now, I have to say, the Wizard of Moz is one of my favorite nicknames. Other than Kevin Durant, the Slim Reaper, that's my all-time favorite. But I love the Wizard of Moz. It's great. Go ahead.
How are things going at Moz?
Well, you folks probably know that we did some layoffs last summer, which was painful and horrible. Yeah. I've never actually been part of a layoff before.
Yeah.
In any capacity, and so yeah, that was no fun at all. But I think that the strategy that the business chose is a really good one. It's certainly the most aligned I've felt personally with things in a long time, and I really love that. That's sort of us refocusing on SEO, and so far, yeah, it's been good. November, December, and I believe now January have all been profitable months. So cash flow positive, as well as, putting more money in the bank. And that, that's super meaningful for me. I've always strived to make Moz a profitable business, despite us being VC backed.
Yeah.
And so I feel really good about that. In fact, I think next month at our all hands, I'm going to be shaving my mustache, because I originally grew it to encourage us to get profitable, and yep, finally going to shave it.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait for that one. Keyword Explorer, has the feedback been pretty good? I have to say, I enjoy using it.
It's improving.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, that one's kind of funny. I would say that the feedback has been better than pretty good, which is kind of, it's awesome and it's fun. It's surprising, but it's also humbling. That one's been really awesome. I think, we sort of made a product that did the thing that a lot of people in the SEO world needed, which was just, give me data from all these different kinds of keyword sources, give me the ability to sort and filter based on all these things and group keywords, and give me better volume data than what AdWords is giving, and then give me some information about what the click-through rate opportunity is actually like, because many of us in SEO are far more sophisticated than the 10 blue links model, and so we know that ranking number one for a keyword where there's maps and ads, where there's a featured snippet, is very different from ranking for one where it's just 10 classic blue links, and trying to estimate that for folks and show them the potential traffic that's available on a keyword, not just the volume, has been a big thing too. And yeah, so that one's really nice. One of the interesting metrics, I encourage all SaaS, software as a service, companies to do this, but one of the things we look at is customers that we acquire through various channels. So for example, Open Site Explorer has many hundreds of thousands of monthly users, but the conversion rate is quite low. I think it's something around 0.1% of OSE free users in a month will convert to paid. But for Keyword Explorer, it's something like 1.8%. Maybe it's higher than that. Might be higher than that. So, it's just 2 orders of magnitude higher, which is pretty awesome. Makes us
very cool. Yeah, and I see that you guys you still have follower wonkers. Are y'all decided to keep it, or?
No, less decided to keep it, and more found that everyone we talked to about selling it last fall, was very nervous, because remember, Twitter had put themselves up for sale at the time.
Oh yeah.
And so a lot of folks were going, okay, well, if Twitter ends up with Google, that's one thing, but if they end up being bought by AOL, Time Warner, or I think Salesforce was one of the ones in the talks, Adobe. Anyway, kind of scuttled our ability to have real conversations regarding Wonk. So we're kicking off that process again, because my understanding is that Twitter is sort of taking themselves off the market, and they're going to stay private and independent. Well, public and independent.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say that I'm not. I mean, that I'm happy that you guys still have it. I use it. Well, thanks.
Yeah. This is one of the problems of being tasked with like selling an asset of your company. So Moz, the board of directors basically had this conversation about Wonk, and I volunteered to take point on selling it. And the more time I've been spending with it, the more I keep having this, like, I come home to my wife, I'm like, Geraldine, maybe we should buy Follower Walk. And she's like, what are you talking about? We should buy a house. That's what we should buy.
Right.
We shouldn't buy.
Speaking of your wife, she is a big time blogger herself, right?
Yeah. And in fact, her profile has been getting very big lately. She's been very politically vocal and active, which I have too, probably, as you noticed on Twitter.
Yeah.
And sort of in-person protests and donations, all that kind of stuff. But she also has a book coming out in May, and I think I can't tell you who, but there were several celebrities who read the book, like people whose names you would know, right? Like actors and stuff.
Oh wow!
Read the book and decided they loved it and wanted to contribute a blurb, a quote for the back. So it's been very exciting lately to see her career sort of skyrocketing with her writing.
That is fantastic.
That's awesome.
And speaking of book, last year you were given a book deal. How's that going?
It's going. Yeah.
Work in progress. Huh?
Right. So, funny story about that one. When I signed the contract, which was in probably, March of 2016,
mm-hmm.
I basically promised that the rough draft of the book, the first rough draft of the book, would be done on December 31st of last year. So December 31st, which I think was like a Friday night, right?
Yeah.
I was in my office working on the last chapter, and I think I sent it to them at 10:30 or 10:40 p.m. So an hour and 20 minutes to go. But I got the rough draft in. So. Nice. There you go. I think it was something around 67,000 words, and definitely a lot of work, but it's fun, right? It's fun when your day-to-day work is so reliant and dependent on other people, right? For Keyword Explorer, for example, to be a success, right?
Mm-hmm.
The back-end engineers have to do all the data gathering right and build their systems correctly, and then the middleware has to function, and the front end's going to be awesome. We got to work with the designer and the product manager and the TPMs, and we got to work with the tech ops folks, right? And then it's launching and marketing, getting all the web assets. So there's a team of at least 8 people, and more like 15 or 16 if you count all the ancillary
mm-hmm.
contributions, who have to all give their input, right? And their quality of work determines how it goes. With the book, it's just me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The only person who decides how good or terrible it is me and my work. And that is so refreshing for me. It's very freeing.
Yeah. I mean, there's no pressure.
Lots of pressure, but weirdly, I don't mind that kind of pressure. It's pressure when you can't control all the inputs and outputs.
Yeah.
Right.
You rely on others and deadlines and all that.
Yeah. It's when you can't, when you don't personally know how to contribute to make things better, right? If it was, we're in building the keyword corpus, we encountered these parsing issues with the code. It's sort of like, well, I hope we figure that out because I can't help, right?
Yeah.
But sort of like, this chapter isn't really resonating. It's not hitting home with its points. That I can fix.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yep.
It's understandable.
Yeah. All right. Just a reminder, if you want to get your questions in for the Wizard of Moz himself, Rand Fishkin, please do so using hashtag #SearchTalkLive on Twitter. We've actually had quite a few come in, so we'd kind of like to get to those kind of starting now. But remember, hashtag #SearchTalkLive, get those in, and we'll dive right into it. But yeah, Rand, we actually have some questions come in, so if it's okay, we'd kind of like to get through those a little bit.
Yeah, let's load it up.
All right. We do have one. They said they read one of your articles, and they're quoting you saying, "In my opinion, voice search is the first true high-risk technology shift ever faced by the SEO world." They asked if you could expand on this a little bit.
Yeah. So basically, when we've looked at sort of threats to SEO, you guys are intimately familiar, I'm sure, with the history of people saying, well, this thing changed, so now SEO is dead. And I have never put any stock into any of those at all, even a little bit, until voice search. And the reason why is I still think it is unlikely, but if voice search takes over a significant or a truly massive chunk of all the search queries that are performed on the web and on mobile devices and at home, and removes the interface, right? The visual interface where a human being sort of scans results of some kind to make their choice and decision about what they're going to investigate, and rather just listens for an answer or works with the assistant through voice, the digital assistant, electronic assistant through voice to solve their query problem, SEO could indeed be dead. And that is what I think it scares me, but I'm still optimistic. I'm just watching very closely, right? Mm-hmm. So we watch clickstream data really carefully. We've worked with several partners, but we're currently working with JumpShot. And JumpShot collects, tremendous amount of data from mobile devices and from desktops. And so we look at, hey, is the quantity of searches going down? Is the quantity of searches per searcher going down? Are we seeing more searches that result in 0 clicks? Yeah. All those kinds of things. And so far, there's nothing particularly alarming in that data. But voice search is very new, right? Alexa, the Google Home. I'm sure Apple is going to productize, Siri into more ways. Those don't seem to have made a big dent yet, right? We're not yet having the world where I say, gosh, I want to book a trip. Hey, Alexa, what are the 3 places based on all the information you have about me you think I would like best? And Alexa rattles off, the Great Barrier Reef and Cappadocia and Southern Italy. And I go, Southern Italy sounds nice. Give me some options for packages there. And then Siri or Alexa reads off a few options, and I say, great, book that one on my personal credit card. And suddenly the web is gone. Right. That is I think the fear that a lot of marketers have, that a lot of websites have, right? That essentially everything will just be a biz dev and big data deal with Google or Amazon. It's all partnerships, not results.
And that really, I don't know, could be a monopoly almost. I mean, who are they giving that information?
Who the nod to?
Where are they pulling it from? And what tells them, hey, I should get this information from this site, or
Yeah, I mean, the scary part is they probably already have enough data to do, the example that I just talked about. Yeah. Right. Just by Google scanning your email, or Facebook looking at your account, or Amazon looking at your purchase history and visit history, they probably have it. I think I saw there was a remarkable article. It wasn't in Wired. I can't remember exactly where it was, but I think I might have tweeted in the last couple of days about the use by Cambridge Analytica, who they were basically political consultants for the Brexit campaign and then for the Trump campaign, and they used Facebook like data, essentially what things you liked and how often and all these kinds of things, to build predictive geographic models that would essentially tell them, like, okay, if we advertise in, I think one of the examples was like, if we advertise in Southern Florida using, bad things that this candidate said about this group, that group won't go vote. They won't vote for our person, but they won't go vote at all. And so, that's how we can sort of win this county or that county, those kinds of things. So, that data is already available, and they already, big data analytics firms already know what types of actions you can take. Yeah. I think that predictive action response versus let the human being browse and select, that's the real threat to SEO as we know it.
Yeah, and even so, I mean, what if it became a paid version of, AdWords, where the whole thing is audio and you pay to be in the...
Pay to play.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it is. It's a scary reality, right? And you could certainly imagine why couldn't it work that way, right? I mean, from Google's point of view, if that solves the user's query faster and gets them an answer rather than has them poke around on the web for 15 minutes, is that technically a better and potentially for Google much more lucrative way to go? Well, maybe.
Yeah.
It could be. All right, so we got some more questions on Twitter here. Let's see. Where do I start? Dang.
Right.
Our end of post CTAs the best way to generate leads from our blog? How do different types of CTAs within a post compare?
Yeah, interesting. So my understanding is that this is a case-by-case basis, and that different demographic and psychographic targets, different types of websites, different types of content will convert better or worse for various types of calls to action. In some cases, we've seen top of post work best. In some cases, we've seen in post work best, or in between posts. In some cases, the overlay is the best performing, and in some cases, it's end of post. I would urge folks certainly to test. I would also urge them to make sure that you are considering the user experience trade-offs. So one of the things that you often see with, for example, an overlay, a full page overlay that blocks the content, is that your conversion rate to email capture goes way up compared to just a sidebar email capture, but engagement rate and back button hits on the post itself, people bouncing out, not sharing, not amplifying, that stuff happens too. And so you have to be aware of, am I willing to sacrifice some portion of my traffic and my amplification in exchange for better conversion metrics? And that's, I don't know, it's a little dicey.
Yeah.
The other question she asked was, what has been the most effective CTA on your blog post? Is it asking for emails, or is it asking for a follow on social, etc.?
For me personally, gosh, I think the most effective one that we've run historically was the sign up for the MOZ top 10 emails. Mm-hmm. So basically, and I believe we tried it in three places. We tried a sidebar, we tried an in the middle of posts years ago, and we tried a bottom of post. Bottom of post worked best for us because and to be clear, I'm not sure, I don't think it was the highest converting, but I think it was the highest converting while hurting engagement the least.
Yeah.
And the MOZ top 10, of course, is like an email that comes out every 2 weeks with the 10 pieces of content every web marketer or SEO should read. That currently, I think, has around 400,000 subscribers to it. So it's done reasonably well.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's very important to get those people on a mailing list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think for us, a few things are true, which is we do want to grow these mailing lists. We do want to convert people to free trials, but we almost have a perverse anti-incentive to convert people too early. Mm-hmm. So like one of the things that we observe consistently and very obviously is like, if, for example, you've never heard of MOZ, you click on a paid search ad for SEO tools or something like that, you get to our paid lander and you sign up for a free trial. I think your average customer lifetime value, like the number of months that you stick with a subscription, is something like 5 or 6, maybe not even that. Versus if you have visited our site 10 times or more and you come back to us on, to the homepage via direct visit or to a blog post and then to the homepage, and then from there you click into products and sign up, that retention rate is, or lifetime subscription is more like 14 or 15 months on average. So we really don't want to convert you on visit number 1 or even visit 2 or 3.
Right.
I would much rather say, how do we bring this person back? How do we get them to love what we're doing and decide that they want to be part of the community and comment on some posts and maybe try some free tools, and then a month or 2 from now decide to sign up, rather than how do I convert them today?
Yeah. Have you done any studies? Like, I mean, you do the Whiteboard Fridays every, obviously.
Yep.
Every Friday.
But how has that been an influence as far as, helping people decide that MOZ is a good place? I mean, like.
Yeah, I mean, the way I think about Whiteboard Friday is certainly it fits into the model of let me earn your trust and sort of respect on these topics, rather than let me convert you to trying or buying a tool or a subscription.
Yeah.
And I think that has indeed made Whiteboard Friday and MOZ viewed in this different kind of way, right? That it's a company that is not just there to convert you. I mean, for example, on Whiteboard Friday and in all of our content, right, we promote our competitors all the time. You'll hear about, Majestic and Searchmetrics and, Conductor and Stat, and maybe Conductor and Stat are less directly competitive, but still, right? Like, these are people with SEO software tools, right?
Sure.
When I talk about Follower Wonk, I usually talk about Little Bird. When I talk about Fresh Web Alerts or Fresh Web Explorer from Moz, I almost always talk about Mention and Talkwalker as well, right? So I think for me, that is both because I feel deeply uncomfortable promoting my own stuff only. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And also because I think the goal, whenever you're sharing information, is to have credibility and trustworthiness, not to try and convert every last person you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say, tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe, at least my case and several other agencies that I know use all of them or most of them. So, it's not just, let's just do MOZ or let's just do Majestic.
Right.
I use all of the tools and I pay for all of them.
Totally agree. In fact, I think we did someone from our product team, I think it was last summer, did some research into which tools and how many different tools SEOs used on average in their weekly work. And it was a little less for in-house, but I think for agency, it was an average of 7 to 10 different unique tools every week, right, that were being used. Absolutely. Which is just mind-blowing, right? Imagine having to learn all these different tools just to do this one job. That's insane. When we talk to email marketers, it's whichever one they're subscribed to.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they use MailChimp if they use MailChimp, and they use Constant Contact if that's what they use, right? But it's never like, I use these 10 tools to do my one job.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned two things, Rand, and I think some people that, work in-house or run their own business might be thinking to themselves, well, why the hell would you do that? And that's one, and like you do in Whiteboard Fridays, you talk about other companies, competitors, and stuff like that. And it's just to build that credibility, that trustworthiness. And we don't worry about converting on the first try. And they might be thinking, well, you want to, that's all they care about is conversions. How should you shift your mindset? Should you just worry about providing the information and the conversions are going to come and not worry about those metrics? Or should you focus on other metrics that will lead to those conversions?
Yeah, I would never coach someone not to care about the metrics, right? So, for example, if we learned at MOZ that after visiting our content 10 or 15 times, no one was any more likely to subscribe, nor were those people who did, subscribe to our software more likely to stick around, we would change our strategy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we would change the approach and probably be more aggressive up front, worry less about, burning engagement early on, consider more of those overlays, right? So that's a metrics-driven decision. There's certainly philosophical decisions that we make as well, right? So MOZ has core values. One of them is transparency. And so being transparent, I think there are a lot of use cases for link research and link discovery where Majestic and Ahrefs are a better choice for you. And because I know that, right, or because I believe that, I am going to transparently share that with you. I'm not just going to say, hey, Open Site Explorer, that's the only option, or, MOZ Pro Campaigns, that's the only place you should look at your links. No, that's not true. I think that will both cost me credibility, which will have long-term impacts on my customer base, but it's also a core values thing. So this comes from both angles. One is purely metrics driven, functional to the business, right, and serving the business's interests. And the other one is a values decision.
Yeah. Very nice. Well, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you listening to Search Talk Live. We are joined by our special guest, Rand Fishkin of MOZ. Search Talk Live is sponsored by the Robert Palmer family of companies. You can go to robertpalmercompanies.com, check out everything they have to offer. Bunch of cool stuff. That's robertpalmercompanies.com. If you'd like to get your questions in, which they keep rolling in, if you'd like to do so, go to Twitter, use hashtag Search Talk Live, and we will get those in as soon as we can. Let's see here. We do have a question about link building. They're asking, is link building now solely focusing on your website and your content with creating an amplification strategy that's going to get it in the right hands to the right audience?
It depends on what you are doing. If you are in obviously this is my opinion, but if you are in a sector with lots of people who pay attention to influencers and pay attention to the content that's being shared in the field, and amplify that content themselves, run their own sites and would link to stuff, right? There's an active sort of press or blogger or media community. Then yes, that is certainly a totally legitimate SEO link building strategy. Mm-hmm. But in many fields, that doesn't exist, or it doesn't exist very strongly. And so you have to do more direct outreach. We have, in fact, a few case studies on MOZ and data points showing that sitting back and waiting for amplification, especially in fields where there's not a lot of what you'd call, an active influencer community, is a pretty poor strategy. And, reaching out via email or via Twitter or LinkedIn or even phone can have a real impact. Yeah. So I would not coach anyone to ignore proactive link building. I would just say if you're lucky enough to be in one of these sectors where that model of amplify, sit back and wait, make your content better and better, more and more interesting, great. If not, don't rely on it.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't seem like there's really too many of those communities that have that kind of activity. I mean, honestly, I know marketing is, of course, one of the biggest ones. You see that all over the place. But, I mean, outside of that, I can't think of too many that have that type of, they're actively seeking it out.
We've seen it pretty active in spaces like travel. We've definitely seen it in, weirdly enough, in real estate, especially like real estate business world. I would say it's obviously extremely active in politics, and also in the world of media. So even print media, pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
Celebrity stuff, right? Pop culture stuff.
Right.
That's a pretty good community. So there are a number, right? But if you're talking about we manufacture aluminum piping for industrial manufacturers. Yep, that not a huge influencer community, like not a ton of Twitter convos going on between DuPont plant builder guy and the agro, big agro.
Right. Yep. Yeah, they're actively on Twitter all day, every day.
I mean, maybe they are, but they're probably not going to announce themselves.
Right? Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Rand, do you remember last year when you did the test where you had people do a search for a certain thing and then clicking on a certain page?
Yeah, sure.
To get those rankings or, giving the activity of the website, the click-throughs and all that stuff. Well, I recently did this test. I can't name the website or the client, but what had happened is it's a pretty big project, and they spent $1.2 million on offline advertising. So they were just flooding this website with, traffic from offline people, but people are doing searches for the brand.
Right.
They went from under 50 in a matter of, what was it, a week, Caleb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. They went up to the first page and have been up and down all around. So, I mean, that sure holds water with that test you did.
Yeah, and we, in fact, have seen more evidence of this. So the one you mentioned, right, where you do offline advertising, that leads to a lot of brand searches,
right.
And the brand searches themselves help boost the rankings for non-brand searches on the brand's pages. I think it was Seer Interactive had a case study about that a year or two ago. And I believe Distilled has also been able to replicate those results with a client project.
Yeah.
And there was a talk about it at one of the Search Loves. Today, I don't know if you guys caught, but today there was a great case study for who was it? Oh, it was the folks from Brafton.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically had a page on their site that ranked for LinkedIn. Like it ranked on page 1 for the keyword LinkedIn,
mm-hmm.
and, got like a few 100,000 impressions within, just a couple hours.
Wow.
Because many people search for LinkedIn all the time.
Right.
But got almost no clicks. And thus, even though it had, just popped to page 1, it popped down to page 3 after having like a 0.001% click-through rate.
Wow.
So they transparently show sort of here's exactly what happened, right? That the post is published, it does well, it gets on page 1 and then falls down. And I think that, this speaks to, look, if the three of us were sitting around and we were designing our, Google algorithm, we would put this in there.
Right.
Oh yeah, sure.
If people click on something a lot and it's ranking low, maybe that means we should rank it higher, right? We're clearly interested. And the reverse is also true. If lots of people search on LinkedIn, they see this result, nobody clicks it,
mm-hmm.
maybe it doesn't belong there.
Yeah.
Right. So it seems extremely obvious to me. I think the fact that Google's been so cagey and weird, occasionally denying outright that they do any of this, and then sometimes sort of admitting, well, maybe sort of we do it. But, has been frustrating for folks. But, even if the crazy part is, even if you don't think Google does it, who is out there thinking, hey, you know what we should do? We should make our engagement rate worse. Yeah, man.
Yeah, right.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Let's bring down that click-through rate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Let's do it. There's nobody like that, right? So the recommendation is the same whether you believe this is in the algorithm or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is Google ever just going to be transparent about it? Or are they just going to keep all being
Well, they
tiptoeing around?
They have to be very subtle, because if
Yeah.
they give out their secret sauce, then somebody's going to take advantage of it.
Right. True.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of get the sense like the people who are going to take advantage of it are already doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like that. Google not saying anything doesn't stop that. I think eventually they will be more transparent about it. The pattern with Google has always been a few years of denial, a few years of secrecy, and then suddenly they're open. Right.
Right.
And so I think that game will probably play over again with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Man.
All right. What do you see? We got anything on Twitter?
We do have a couple more questions that did come in. So we did talk about this a little earlier in terms of kind of buying domains for a new site. We had a question come in that says, in terms of buying domains, is it worth it to sign a big check for something with high domain authority right off the bat, or would it be better in the long term to start fresh and build authority organically?
Interesting. Let's see.
That's a good question.
I would not counsel anyone to base their domain buying decision exclusively or really even partially on existing link equity and authority, right? And domain authority for MOZ at least is a measure of link equity,
mm-hmm.
right? It's linked to this domain, how powerful are those links, what's the likelihood that it can rank for a random keyword. The reason I would not is because when you buy a domain, Google almost always, not always, but almost always wipes out the existing, link equity sort of authority that has been vested in it over time.
Yeah.
So many people have shelled out a big check for a domain that looked like it had tons of links to them. And then, of course, they put content on there and see that it ranks just as well or badly as it would have if they put it on a brand new domain that no one had ever registered.
Mm-hmm.
And that, again, if you and I were designing the Google algorithm, that's how we'd make it work, right? Somebody new buys a domain, that is not the same as the old domain.
Wipe it clean.
Right, wipe it clean.
So what would that I mean, wouldn't it eventually crawl those links again and be re-indexed, even if they wipe it clean?
So my understanding from what Google said and some of the patent applications that I've seen via like SEO by the Sea and stuff is they start treating the links as essentially no followed.
Okay.
Once the domain changes hands, right? So then they kind of go until and unless the link is updated or the page the link was on was updated, and this is how there's some authority, right? So let's say that on, MOZ's recommended list, I'm linking out to an agency, right? That we recommend. Mm-hmm. All right. That domain expires, the agency doesn't link to it anymore, but somebody new buys it. Google wipes out all the link equity, but then I update the page, right? I update the recommended list page. I don't necessarily update their particular link, but I update that page. Google might see that updated page and go, oh, okay, they updated this, the link's still there, let's count it anew.
Yeah.
And so that's where some of that, like, some authority can be retained or maintained over time to these sites, right? Because Google can't perfectly intuit the intent of every old link that might get updated.
Yeah.
And so probably you're going to get some benefit there. But what I would say broadly about domain buying is buy a domain that is brandable.
Right.
Buy a domain that does a great job of matching the name of the business that you want, that you think can be very successful, that you're excited to go with, and that you think it'll resonate with your customers. Buying domains based purely on how you think Google might or might not consider link equity, I think that's a real risky model. Unless you're like a true churn and burn spammer and you can afford to buy 500 domains and then, 497 of them were basically wasted. But, you know what? These 3 kind of look like they're still doing something. Okay. Right. Unless you're following that model, I would coach you against buying exclusively on, historic link equity metrics.
Yeah. Plus, I knew you didn't hear this, but what I was saying is I was buying buying a domain for a blog, and there was people that were manipulating by this guy put in 1.5 million links to this one site to throw up the domain authority, right?
Right.
But obviously it was in a penalty. But they did that so when they did the auction, they would sell it for a lot of money.
Right. This is like, when you do a pitch or something, right? And a few days before you go and buy a ton of Twitter followers on Fiverr, so you look more important until the bots get banned, right? It's like, they really know what they're talking about. They have lots of followers.
Right.
Yeah, but you do the link profile and everything, you can see where the links just shot through the roof,
Yeah. Why? Yeah. Well, takes all kinds.
Right. All right. Let's see. We did have another one come through. It says, "Hi, Rand. To what extent does research into audiences play when you decide on the type of content you create for clients?"
I think it can absolutely be helpful and powerful to uncover sort of these are the questions that our industry, or influential people in our industry are constantly asking themselves or are asking search engines, or this is what they're curious about, or these are their fears. I absolutely think that can be useful. I would say that it's tough to do formal research and uncover those. Mm-hmm. Not always, but it can be done. Certainly, I would just say that you can powerfully add to that research process through informal research, like attending events, having lots of conversations, informal and formal, with people in your field, going out to meals and talking about stuff. I would say that a lot of the best content ideas that I have had come to me because of these informal conversations rather than a formal research template where I, send out a survey or have people, I ask in person or over the phone or something, some specific set of questions. I think those can be very useful for quantitative types of research, mm-hmm. right? Like I mentioned before around the, average SEO or average agency SEO uses 7 to 10 unique tools in a week, right, to do their work. That that's the kind of thing where formal research is perfect, right? You want a system like that, interviews, et cetera. But understanding that a lot of, SEOs are deeply uncomfortable with voice search and how voice search is being implemented, or with what the mobile first index means and whether it changes any best practices for desktop SEO, right? Like those kinds of things, you would have a tough time uncovering them through a formal research process. But if you're kind of paying attention broadly to the industry, you can gather that those are significant points of interest or fear, and then respond to them.
Gotcha.
I like it.
Yeah. Are you, with your blog or your wife's blog or MOZ, have y'all gone to AMP pages yet?
We have gone to AMP for some sections. Yeah, you guys should have our head of SEO, Brittany Muller, on. She would know exactly which section. I want to say it might be just our WordPress content, which is like my blog and the dev blog right now, and then they're working on the AMP for the rest of the site, or they're testing first with that. Because we have seen some stuff that really sucks around AMP. I think the biggest one that everybody notices in our field is that when you share the link, you're sharing a link to Google.
Yeah.
Which, man, that sucks.
Yeah, it does.
I hate that, right? And then if you're on a mobile device and you're on an AMP page and you want to share the original, figuring out how to do that, it's a nightmare.
Yeah. All right, let's see. We're moving into the last kind of 4 to 5 minutes of the show. I know how you like to, you always kind of put out your predictions for the year. And I saw that, you write about it every year, and then you grade yourself. I like how you grade yourself as well, which is pretty cool. But as far as moving into 2017, is there anything you'd like to touch on or expand on as far as what you're predicting, or what you'd like to, see, or what we should be looking out for?
Yeah, let's see. So I think I wasn't quite as aggressive. Well, let's see. I wasn't quite as broad with my predictions this year.
Yeah.
I stayed a little more focused on search entirely. One of the questions I asked in the post, though, was, which ones do you think are most likely to happen? And I think there were a lot of people who disagreed that Google would be public about admitting engagement data use, right?
Understand about that one.
Yeah. I think not a ton of other controversy. A few people thought that there would be a greater growth in voice search than I predicted. So I was saying that I think by the end of this year, or by January of next year, all 25% of all U.S. voice searches will be, or 25% of all search will be voice. I actually think that's incredibly aggressive.
Yeah, that's pretty high.
I would say, I think that's super aggressive. But there are a bunch of people who are like, well, I think voice search is growing real fast. I don't know what it is. I think people went home for Christmas and, in the holidays, and they saw their family members kind of all gathered around the new little gadget and asking questions.
Yeah.
Thought that was going to predict all behavior. And I think voice search, especially in-home device, appliance search is, I think it might be a little bit of a fun but not essential.
Yeah. Right? Maybe a fad or something.
Yeah, well, I like to call it kind of like the shiny new toy, but you always go back. You always go back to what you're comfortable with, and I think people will revert back to what they're comfortable with.
I think there's certain kinds of things. I was over at a friend's house a couple of days ago, and we had some sort of a science question. And so he leaned back and said, "Hey Alexa, does this type of dye contain this chemical," or whatever it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there'll be a lot of search like that, where it is easily instantly answerable. But I think I think a quarter might be my most aggressive prediction.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Let's see.
No, for Rand.
Oh, yeah.
Rand, do you have any other predictions?
I'm actually looking through the predictions right now. See if I can call them out on anything right here.
I mean, number 7 is also pretty aggressive, right? So what I'm basically saying is that the top 10 mobile apps will remain entirely static for the year ahead.
Yeah.
With at most 1 new entrant and 4 or fewer position changes. And that sort of suggests like the incumbents dominate the whole field. Mobile is, essentially plateaued. It's no longer a dynamically changing industry. That might also be, if I were going to call myself out on 2 of them, I think that one and the voice search are probably the most aggressive. That the digital world has shown us that shakeup happens all the time.
Yep.
And here I am predicting that there's going to be no shakeup.
Yeah, right. That's bold in itself, right there.
Yeah.
I definitely look forward to your you grading yourself next year.
Next year, we'll see if I don't do well enough with my predictions. I don't even make them for the year ahead. It's sort of a penalty. You didn't do a good job, Rand. No predictions for you.
So you got to be smart with it. Well, we are actually about out of time. Rand, we would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us once again here on Search Talk Live. We appreciate it. I know our listeners appreciate it. Always learning a lot and great conversation. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and Nikki doesn't hear it much from us or, outside of you. But thanks for, helping us set this up. And
my God.
She's awesome.
I will let her know. Yeah, thank you so much. She does a fantastic job with this all the time. So I appreciate you guys having me on and look forward to next time.
Yes, thanks, Rand. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, guys. We are ending another show.
A great show.
Yeah.
That was a very good show.
I love having Rand on. He's such a great
man, just full of knowledge.
Full
of knowledge. We definitely appreciate everybody sending their questions in through Twitter, email, and everything like that. Thank you so much to our listeners. Y'all are great. Fantastic. We appreciate all of your input, your questions, your feedback, all of it. It makes Search Talk Live that much better.
Yeah, be sure check out Rand's Whiteboard Friday. If you're really into the digital marketing field and content marketing, go check out Whiteboard Friday. I mean, every Friday he puts out new content, just amazing, just detailed, actionable items to put to work for yourself.
Yep, a lot of good stuff.
You can reach him at Rand Fish on Twitter. You can also go to, obviously, MOZ. If you're a member there, you can go to their blog. There are tons of content there.
Blog's great
for helping you. And obviously, just tons of information there that you can always use.
Yeah. Go to MOZ, but also go to SearchTalkLive.com. Go to SearchTalkLive.com. If you missed any point of today's show, then you missed a lot of great information. We will be tweeting that out as always. Check out Spreaker.com. Follow us there. Check out all the content. SearchTalkLive.com. Go to past shows. Sign up for the email newsletter. That way you're always in the loop on what's happening.
Absolutely.
At SearchTalkLive.com. Once again, we would like to thank all of our listeners.
Hey, also, next week, join us next week. We're going to have Steve Van Vessem of Content King.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about content and that type of stuff. So, don't miss that show. That's next Tuesday, 3:30 Eastern Standard Time.
All right.
What else?
Man.
Follow us on Twitter. If you listen to the show on Spreaker, please hit the like button.
Yeah. Like us. We just want you to like us.
Yeah, we like you. You like us.
Yeah, right. Once again, we appreciate Rand coming on. Thank you to our listeners. Y'all have a great rest of the week, and we will see everybody next Tuesday at 3:30.
Peace.
Have a good one.
Search Talk Live is a presentation of the Robert Palmer family of companies.